Gary Tumult here from the British National Party of Salford. I'm with Nick Griffin, your MEP, to talk about all the rioting that happened last night in Salford.
Well, Gary, obviously it's very noisy here in the precinct with repair work going on and boarding up, but I know we've got the cash converters down there, and some of the shops here were attacked. What went on in this patch?
What happened there, the two cash converters were actually looted and then it was exploded. It was set on fire, it was a blaze, a real mess. Also inside we've got Ormond Parking, that was looted. Wilkinson's also inside the centre. It was absolute carnage out there last night.
Talking to one or two people local just around the corner, they were saying this could be the end of the shopping precincts here. Do you think that's realistic?
That is realistic, yeah. There's many jobs at risk now because there's a giant Tesco's opening right next door to the precinct. I think personally this will be the end of this opportunity, yeah.
Terrible stuff. Now I was in Liverpool earlier on, and speaking to locals there, they were saying that although the trouble was the usual suspects with a lot of blacks and half-castes and so on, it was actually kicked off by far-left anarchists and so on, winding trouble up. Was the same true here, do you think?
Well, before it all started, I did see local left anarchists and the local student types around in Salford. What they were doing, I don't know. They were hanging around before they went off around there.
Okay, and do you think that's an end of it, or will there be more trouble now?
Quite possibly there could be more trouble. I won't like to speculate on that, possibly.
Now, in a lot of areas we've got some word of local people starting to band together to stand on the street corners and make clear to the looters they're not welcome. Do you think that's going to happen here, or is there enough community spirit here?
There's a lot of community spirit here in Salford. I personally would like to see the locals stand up to the known anarchists and the looters coming into Salford. It's not on in Salford at all.
Yeah, no, it's wrecking communities.
It is wrecking the communities. I remember the public who I did actually speak to said to me, the last time he seen anything like this, he was wearing body armour, he had a rifle in his hand. He was actually in Bosnia, that's where he said he was. Right. And that's from a local person to me.
Yeah. Well, let's hope the local community does what's necessary to make the police come out and get tough enough to put an end to this before it gets any worse.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Nick Griffin, what brings you here today?
Well, I'm an MEP for the North West and Salford's in my patch. I've been here campaigning a number of times over the last 6 to 9 months, and so the local people said, well, now come and see what's happened.
So what do you think about what's happened here?
It's absolutely terrible, and this is the fault more than anything else of the government who wouldn't allow the police to get tough early on. The rioting could have been stamped out if they'd have been tough at the beginning instead of leaving it too little too late.
David Cameron says this is a sign of a sick society. What's your feeling about that?
I think it's a sign of a failed multicultural experiment, and it's also to do with a total lack of discipline in schools right from the beginning. These kids, we're talking, especially in this area, you're talking white kids, black kids, all sorts, but there's no discipline, there's no sense of responsibility, and there's a feeling they've got no future.
You were saying earlier, I heard you asking what kind of people were involved, and you were talking about, in your words, black and half-caste. Do you feel that there's a racial element to this in that case?
Well, what I said is that here it's blacks and half-castes and young white trash, left-wing student anarchists and so on, I believe. There's a racial element in as far as no one will talk about it, we will. It's patently obvious that the trouble started in the black areas of London. Most of the victims have been whites and Asians, so to that extent it's racial. That's not to say it's all the blacks, of course. It's a lawless section of their young people, but there's enough in our own community. In their community, the problem's even worse.
Yesterday, when you look at the pictures from here, though, it was a predominantly white disturbance.
Yeah, indeed, there's no doubt about it, but you've got a copycat element, and here this was mainly local kids, with a number of blacks coming in from Moss Side and so on, stirring the trouble up, but plenty of local kids who should know better.
Do you think your presence here runs the risk of stirring things up?
Well, look, if people had listened to me years ago, this could have been avoided right from the start. We warned precisely this was going to happen 2 or 3 years back. No attention has been taken. People, instead of saying, might I be to blame for winding things up, need to listen to what the British National Party and I got to say, because unless the establishment, the powers that be, really get a grip on the trouble now, the communities are going to fall apart in mutual hostility, and the trouble we've seen so far will be nothing to compare with what's coming.
So what would you do to try and solve that problem?
What they need to do is to bring in the army, because there's not enough policemen to control this country now. They need to let the police and the army use baton rounds, use water cannons, and immediate arrests, and most important, everyone arrested for rioting needs to get an immediate 5-year sentence, put them away and stop it. These people, these thugs, understand fear, that'll put fear into them, and then they will simply go home and behave themselves.
Do you think we're now in a state in this country we need the army on the streets?
I've no doubt that we need the army on the streets, because there's not enough police to control enough areas, and the government will have to do it. It's like 2 or 3 years ago, 2 or 3 days ago, they were saying they wouldn't use plastic bullets, they wouldn't use water cannon. Now they're saying they're prepared to. If they'd used them in a couple of places on Thursday night, no one would be battering up shop windows here in other parts of the country. So they need to bring in the army now before it gets any worse.
My name's Peter Quiggins from Liverpool BNP. We're down here today to highlight one of the issues. The issue being that there was a bit of a riot on this street. As you can see, one of the cars. This particular street is in Bedford Street South in Liverpool, 600 yards away from Liverpool city centre. A lot of people in this street were, when they were confronted with a mob of 600 people, all the tyres and all the cars were getting slashed, and they seemed to be helpless. A lot of people in the street could see a lot of police were at the top of the road and letting the events just unfold in front of them. So that was the reason why I called you in to see if you could come down and highlight the issue, Nick. So what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's, there's a familiar pattern building up here, I think. Basically, the police, they're there protecting the city centre, they're protecting the big shops, and local communities are just left to fend for themselves. That appears to be going on a lot of places all over the country. It's obviously grotesquely unfair on local people. As you know, we were filming just around the corner earlier on where cars were actually firebombed, and people happy to talk to us, happy that I'm here, but desperately scared about the idea of appearing on camera.
I see, yeah. Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of that. We've actually gone in speaking to people, holding the camera, asking them if they would like to make a comment, and they're scared.
Yeah. They're
scared to go on camera in case of any backlash from these sort of. What we believe that's happening is that there's agitators and anarchists going around riling up the local people and local youth.
Yeah, that's clear. Whereas it started in London with blacks and mixed race, second generation West Indians and so on, kicking off on a huge scale. I think shopping with violence is how it's been described, and then the police doing nothing there. Certainly here and also in Salford, sort of speaking to people, there's definite undertones that the trouble started off with far left student anarchist types. The same people come out and attack us. Repeatedly, the UAF types, starting it. Once they started it, then the young blacks and the young scroats get involved as well. But this was deliberately started by people for political motives.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's what we noticed in Liverpool. It wasn't, people were just getting involved because, everyone else seemed to be doing it, but it was definitely the agitators, and it was definitely the anarchists who were drawing people in. And people... loads of the youth were just getting involved in the moment.
Yeah.
So,
well, certainly, as I say, we've picked that up in several places now. Also, a determination from local communities now to come out and stand and be there and stop the rioters having their own way. A couple of people told us about that. Have you any personal experience of that in Liverpool the last couple of days?
Well, there's a lot of people being stopping me and saying they're blaming it on different cultures and so on. It's this culture, it's that culture, but it's like, no, it's being wound up. You're being wound up. All of these are being by these agitators, and people are not getting onto what's happening. What some of the communities are doing now, they're actually forming vigilante groups, and especially the Asian businesses are forging vigilante groups. So that sets a precedence. If they can do it, why can't our communities do it?
Yeah. Well, I think our community are going to do it. Again, we've heard and seen. There you go. Heard and seen enough like that to say it's going to go on. All I would say is that it's so absolutely crucial. But it shouldn't have to be done. The police should be doing the job.
Yeah,
But if the police won't or can't do the job, then local communities have a right to do it. But it's absolutely essential that they do so, peacefully, using the moral persuasion of a large group of people being there, rather than using physical force. That way lies terrible, terrible problems. But I think that if local communities come out and do this, so the rioters are shamed and forced, just basically to go home, then that's about the best chance we've now got for peace.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter. Well, we'll move on and see what else we can find somewhere else.
Thanks for coming down, Nick.
Okay,
thanks very much.